Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Thursday, the 26th day of January 2023. I hope that you are safe and healthy today and that your family is also safe and healthy and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field along with the first responders who every day are trying to save lives. Also those that pick up garbage for us to keep streets and sidewalks, parks and recs and buildings and stairwells clean and disease free. Blessings also upon those that make deliveries of important things like food and water and mail for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women that are out here trying to help, rescue, and deliver the teenagers and the children that are the victims of child molestation and pedophilia. The victims also of pornography, prostitution, child prostitution, human trafficking, and sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators, double curses on the profiteers and those perverts who create this industry. Finally, blessings upon the homeless. There are nearly 600,000 men, women, and mostly children, and increasingly senior citizens that are without a roof over their head in the United States, and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions, and blessings upon them. For theirs is the kingdom. There's a basketball game scheduled tonight. The New York Knicks are scheduled to take on the Boston Celtics. Now, a lot going on in Knicks Nation, as always, a lot going on in Knicks Nation. But the Boston game is different. The Knicks have rivalries with teams. Lots of times those rivalries are based on situations that have arisen. So in the 90s, a rivalry was developed between the Miami Heat and the New York Knicks and it started with the bad blood created the way Pat Riley's exit happened, the way he left New York to go to Miami. And that bad blood started with the two managements and went down from the owners and management into the players, and it manifested itself on the court in a bitter rivalry. So that in the late 1990s and into the 2000s, every time the Knicks and Miami Heat played, it was a war. Lately, we've had rivalry with the Atlanta Hawks based on them knocking us out the playoffs 4-1 2 years ago, and based on them talking and the leprechaun running his mouth at Madison Square Garden, and the fans reacting negatively to that. And that has created a rivalry so that when the Knicks play the Hawks, it's on. But there are some rivalries that are not based on any particular incident or situation, but they're based on tradition and history. The Knicks against Boston is one of those type of rivalries. The Knicks and Boston go back a long way. And you can throw out the records when the two teams meet for the most part. There's been most of the times over my lifetime, over the 50 plus years I've been watching the Knicks, most of the times Boston is better. Most times they have the better team. Early in the 70s, once Bill Russell retired and the Knicks started winning couple championships, the Knicks were a better team. But then when they got the Boston Celtics got Larry Bird and they started building around Larry Bird in the 80s, Boston was the better team. But some of the greatest games you will find are Knicks-Boston in the age of Bernard King. Then in the 90s, once Bird was past his prime and retired and Pat Riley came to the Knicks were the better team. Okay? Then it switched again in the 2000s when Boston got Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, and of course they had drafted Paul Pierce, and they created the first real modern big three, and they were the better team. And so now we find ourselves at this point, Boston is the better team, having now drafted and developed Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and surrounded them with tremendous talent of other players like Pritchard that they have drafted, and then adding a Malcolm Brogdon as a piece also. So that caused Boston now is the number one team in the Eastern Conference. They are number one team in the Eastern Conference, and let me just look where they rank overall. They are actually, as far as record, the top team in the entire NBA, 35-14. Denver is second at 34-15. So Boston is the top team in the league. But again, you could throw out the records when it's Boston, New York. It's a war. It's a traditional war. It's like the Hatfields and McCoys, and it goes back a long way. And it's going to be a dog fight. I can tell you that right now. It's going to be a dog fight. The thing is about this year's New York Knicks team is they can play with anybody. The Knicks can play with anybody. The problem is people complain about how they're losing or when they're losing, but the fact is there've been very few games that the Knicks have not been in the game. Like very few. Very few games where they've lost, coast to coast, where they never had the lead and they just lost. There've been a couple of games like that, but every team, of the 30 teams in the NBA, even the Boston Celtics, they all have games like that. But for the most part, the Knicks can play with anybody. Okay, that's the bottom line. They can play with anybody. All right. Now, somebody will argue where they're beating good teams when they don't, and haters will do that. When they're beating good teams when they don't have their best players. Haters in New York media would bring that up. But the Knicks can play with anybody. And the reason they can is because of their head coach, Tom Thibodeau. Because he is a tough, defensive-minded coach. Because he loves New York. It's his dream job. And because of that, his players come to fight every night. There was some knuckleheads out here implying early in the season that the Knicks just gave up on Tom Thibodeau. I don't know where that high school crap comes from, but no, the Knicks do not give up on Tom Thibodeau. When you come to play against the Knicks, you know they're going to fight with you for 48 minutes. That's how it is. And so now, at this stage, Boston is the favorite. Number one team in the NBA, number one team in the Eastern Conference, on their home floor. And this is the perfect type of game for the Knicks to upset them. This is the type of game where we get real good satisfaction, more than even most, by beating Boston in Boston. Okay, so as far as injuries, we know we're missing Mitchell Robinson. Okay, Boston is actually missing Marcus Smart, a very key piece also of their defense. In fact, Marcus Smart is the reigning defensive player of the year, and for good reason. Okay, so they're missing him, but they're not really missing a beat because they still got Malcolm Brogdon and they still got Peyton Pritchard out of Oregon, who has turned into a really solid pro. So they're missing Marcus Smart, yes, but they got some good backup. They're deep. We're missing Mitchell Robinson, yes, but we got some good backup. We're deep. We're playing Jericho Sims at the 5. He's still developing in his second season, but he can play. Okay, he could play. In fact, he could play so well that myself and many in Knicks Nation would like to see him in the permanent rotation ahead of one Isaiah Hartenstein. Now, with regard to Hartenstein, we have to give him props. The last game, the gentleman came to play. He did. He came to play, and he showed out, and he had a key block, which later on the ref, they did a review and said, well, he actually fouled Donovan Mitchell on that block. Boo-hoo-hoo. How many times did the Knicks get robbed every game on fouls? How many times does Julius get beat up? Now, Julius will stand there and argue with the ref while the fast breaks going the other way, but he is the legitimate beefs in getting beat up. So I don't want to hear, nor do I care to hear, that Hartenstein fouled Donovan Mitchell on the last play of the game. Boo-hoo-hoo. We move on. But Hartenstein is aggressive. He's just slow-footed. Okay? He sees the floor well. Great passer for a 5-man. But he uses his hands too much on defense and gets in foul trouble. He's not a bad backup. He's a great backup. But I believe Jericho Sims is better. And the fact that Mitchell Robinson is out for the next 2+ weeks, at least, they labeled him 3 weeks, but that's been a week ago. So now it's 2+ weeks. Gives Jericho Sims, gives the chance for what we always say, the cream rises to the top. Jericho is just more athletic. He's got more skills. He's just a better ball player, and he's learning. But the tandem we have is pretty good with the two of them. Now, Mobb Deep is back. What do I mean by that? Well, those of you who understand know when I say Mobb Deep, I'm talking about the Knicks bench. The Knicks bench is back. Obi Toppin, Emmanuel Quickley, Deuce McBride, and the aforementioned Isaiah Hartenstein. The Mobb Deep is back. So, what do I mean back? They've been scoring about 25 to 28 points over the last 3 games. And so they're getting better. As Tom Thibodeau already said, and as I've been telling y'all, they need time to get acclimated. There's no need to make a trade. And of course, there's always the trade crowd in New York. They're on their NBA 2K computers, ready to make the next deal, even when one is not necessary and one is not necessary. So we are ready to roll and getting better as we enter the Boston Garden with everybody healthy, or most of our guys healthy. Julius Randle has been on a tear. Okay, we saw the greatest of Julius Randle in the last game. We saw his worst too, but we'll take that. If you're gonna end up with 36 and 13, get grown man rebounds down the stretch in crowds, flicking people off him like they was fly, and he still gets 5 turnovers, I don't care. Long as we win. Okay? Long as we win. RJ Barrett, hey, he struggled a little bit the last game. In fact, he struggled a little bit the last 2 games. Struggled on defense, struggled a little bit with his shot. But again, I guess the phrase I keep using with RJ after his rookie season, and I've been using it ever since, I am not worried about RJ Barrett. He's going to be fine. Okay? He's going to be fine. Somebody asked me yesterday with regard to him if I would trade him for Kyle Kuzma. Now, in the NBA 2K world, that's a dream right there, right? That's like a wet dream, right? Because Kuzma is obviously playing better than RJ, right? But what I explained to him, which I'm going to explain to all y'all now, I favor the guys that we drafted. Again, because I'm looking for long-term, sustainable winning. And part of that is keeping the guys and developing the guys and showing loyalty to the guys that you drafted. I know loyalty is a foreign word to the NBA 2K crowd, so I ain't going to try to explain it to you. But that's what RJ is to me. The night he got drafted, I will never forget. He slammed his hand on the Diaz while he was talking with his Knicks hat on and said, "I'm a Knick." See, that means something to me. I know it don't mean nothing to the NBA 2K crowd, but it means something to me. He wants to be here. He takes on the smoke in New York, and not many players want to do that. Yeah, Kyle Kuzma is better, but I'll keep my guy, RJ, and I'll ride with him. Next, we need Deuce and Obi to get some minutes today. The more Deuce, now generally the formula is Deuce, Mitch Rob, and Grimes. The more them 3 play together, the more minutes they can be out there together, the better the defense is, and the better chance the Knicks have of winning the basketball game. There's no Mitch Rob. We got Jericho back there, and he's doing a good job. But the more Deuce and Grimes and Obi and Quick play together, the better chance we have to win the basketball game. Now, what Tom did the last game we played, he started calling timeouts when the other team started making runs. I mean, and some people say, well, I don't think that's much of an adjustment. Well, yes, it is, because usually he lets them play through it. But he kept calling timeouts to break up the rhythm of the team that was coming. And they were generally coming against our first unit when they were making runs. Then he instituted Mobb Deep into the fourth quarter, starting the fourth quarter for a few minutes. It was 3 minutes. I really feel a slight tweak to that would really help a lot. Like, instead of 3 minutes, keep them in there 4 or 5 minutes, and then bring your starters back with like 7 minutes to go, 7, 8 minutes. Keep them in there 4 or 5 minutes, because now your starters are rested, and now you can, have a chance, and you give them a chance, the Mobb Deep that is, to put it on the opponent and give us a lead, or at least create some momentum. And so we'll see what he does, but I feel like that's the next tweak. So he's been keeping his first unit in most of the first quarter and starting the second unit in the second quarter. And now, but we've been getting off to some slow starts. Now, the last game, we got off to a strong start. The Knicks were up like, I think, 15 in the first quarter. So if that continues, that's good. But I'd like to see that second unit get and it's not a ton of more minutes, just a couple more minutes, like maybe 2 or 3 more minutes each time he puts them in. Add like 2 or 3 more minutes in the second quarter, 2 or 3 more minutes in the first. So give him like a total of about 5 or 6 minutes each quarter. Then I think we'll get something. I think we'll get something pretty good here. So Jalen Brunson, of course, the keys with Jalen Brunson. Let everybody touch the basketball. Your point guard. Let everybody touch the ball. Okay? You can get your shot. You're gonna get Jalen Brunson gonna get his shots. He's a point guard, he brings it up, he's gonna get his touches. He's gonna get his minutes. Okay? So he ain't gotta force it. Let everybody touch the basketball. Just keep the turnovers low. That's for the whole team. Keep the turnovers low. We're going to have to gang rebound. We don't have Mitch Robinson. Okay, Julius did the right thing. Grimes, right thing. Deuce, they all jump in there and rebound now. So we're going to need a gang rebound. Okay? We're going to have to trap a little bit. Now, it's more dangerous to trap Cleveland than Boston. And I'll tell you why. I believe Grimes could lock up Malcolm Brogdon. And he could definitely lock up Peyton Pritchard. I mean, lock them up, throw away the key. And then they'll be crying in the tunnel, please get the key from this guy. Because he's got these cuffs on him. He could do that. But Tatum is a superstar, in my opinion. Jason Tatum is a superstar. And so I'd like them to double him and get the ball out of his hands as much as possible. Okay? Probably, the way this thing will go, I don't know if they'll have Grimes guarding him one-on-one, and that could also solve the problem. But then you create a problem because Brunson is your weak link on defense. So I'm not sure how they're going to do this, but I'd like to get the ball out of Jason Tatum's hands as much as possible. Jaylen Brown also. They're like 1 and 1A, They're both very tough. I wouldn't consider Jaylen Brown that superstar level yet, but he's a perfect Robin to Batman. Okay. So low turnovers, rebound the basketball, and please, New York Knicks, hit your foul shots tonight. And please, Julius Randle, don't insist on taking the technical foul shots tonight. Please. Let better shooters take the shot. Okay. I think that's about it. We got to play that tight defense. We got to scramble. We need Sims in there. We need Hartenstein in there. But the mob deep is the key here. Our bench here is the key. I think the starters can play them to a standstill. If the bench can come through, I think we good. Turnovers low. Rebound the basketball as a gang, as a unit. You should see all kind of Knick jerseys going after the ball today. Okay? And I think we have a shot. I'm not going to predict the win, but I'm going to predict it's going to be a dogfight. And I'm trying to say that I think Mobb Deep can get us over the top. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, y'all enjoy your Thursday. Be safe out there. And like me, enjoy the game. Shalom.